We hold our monthly roundtables to get up to the World Energy Day conference, which is normally held in October. And this year, we are having our World Energy Day conference in Mombasa from the 19th to the 21st of October. And just before we go on, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Emily Mwendwa. I'm part of the World Energy Day Secretariat. And I will ask us, as I can see, most of you have started already introducing themselves on the chat, and I can see our team here is welcoming you very much in this webinar. And I will encourage us to continue introducing ourselves, and I read out some of the people who have introduced themselves on the chat. I can see Andrew Amandi from Kenya Renewable Energy Association. Welcome, Andrew. And then there's Akena Anthony from Uganda, Zaza Engineering Company Limited. And I can see Grace Mahinda, Kenya Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance. Welcome you all. And before we get to the agenda of the day, I would love to mention some of the activities that World Energy Day Foundation carries on throughout the year. And some of the activities are webinars such as this, which are held monthly. And also we have the Youth Innovation Challenge. We have the Energy Professionals Awards. And this year we have a theme around empowering energy independence in Africa, enabling rural and urban renewable energy awareness, access, and affordability. And then this will be our focus for this year. And of course, we will be sending out a call for papers, which will be posted on our social media platforms coming maybe on April. And then to move forward, I will love us to get to the topic and the theme of this webinar, which is on the Clean Cooking Technology Debate, a focus on awareness, access, and affordability. And I think this topic is very timely, and I think clean cooking is part of basic services necessary to lead a healthy and productive life, which saves household time and money. And our speakers today will help us elaborate and get to understand this topic better. And just before we get to the agenda of the day, I like us to interact on a quick question that I'll share on the screen. Just to share my screen. So the question is, which is the most affordable and accessible clean cooking technology in Africa? Which cooking technology do you think is the most affordable and accessible in Africa? To participate in this question, you will type, you go to www.menti.com and use the code 827-40237. I'll also post this on the link so that I can see what the people in the room will get to answer on this question, which is the most affordable and accessible clean cooking technology in Africa. And to participate, you can go to www.menti.com and use the code 82740237. Or you can just use the link that I've shared on the chat to participate on this. Wood, okay, I can see your answers. Biogas, let me see them coming and see what you think is the most affordable and accessible clean cooking technology in Africa. Biogas is coming up. Ethanol. You can see the people in the room. Biogas, ethanol, wood. LPG. Biogas is just coming. Ethanol, wood. LPG. Briquettes, okay. Moly, which one is this? I'm not aware of the moly. Maybe the word was briquettes. Odorless charcoal. We'll take a minute on this, and then we can hear from our speakers what they think about this question, and also to get more insight on what they have prepared for us today. Right. I believe 16 of you, 17 of you have participated on this voting for improved stalls. Okay, I see. Improved stalls. I can see we have 39 in the room and only 18 people participated in on the voting of this question, which is on the most affordable, which is the most affordable and accessible clean cooking technology in Africa. All right, we see your answers. 3 stones with firewood. I don't know if this is still a clean cooking technology, but we'll get to hear more about all these answers that you've given us today. Thank you everyone who has participated on this. We'll just move quickly to the topic of the day, and I will like to introduce our first speaker who is in the room with us today. And our first speaker is a vital voice in the energy space. She believes in Africa's energy sector. And in an interview, she was interviewed by the Elite Africa. She was asked, why do you think and believe in Africa's energy sector? And her response was, energy is life, empowerment, and justice. I see energy transforming lives on a daily basis, and I see endless potential for growth and scale. She was the winner of the Energy Social Impact Award in 2021 World Energy Day Conference. Esther Altofer is currently the Managing Director of Systema Bio East Africa, and the leading biogas company in Kenya and globally that manufactures, sells, distributes, and finances biodigesters that transform animal waste into clean cooking fuel. Today, Esther is going to talk about capacity building for communities to bridge the clean cooking access gap, and she will demystify and help us understand more about this topic. I can see Elsa is ready and all smiling to take this up. And over to you, Esther.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Emily. This is a very big introduction, too big for me, but thank you. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you so much for everyone who believes that biogas is the clean cooking fuel for the future. There is still work to do, but I'm very happy to be here today and to share what Systema Bio has achieved so far, and what are some of the areas that we're also looking at learning, growing, collaborating with the sector, and so we can really benefit women and men, but mostly women all over the world with clean cooking fuels. So I will do a brief presentation, and I understand there is a Q&A session before. I live in Nairobi. I've been here for 3 years. I joined Systema Bio in 2014 in Mexico. You can see in the woman in the middle here is a Mexican woman. This is where we started in Latin America. And in 2017, I had the immense privilege of launching our East Africa office in Kenya. And the same year, we launched our office in India, where we also have a lot of work going on to improve the clean cooking situation. So thank you so much again for the invitation. Feel free to ask any questions, to challenge and engage in discussion. And if we don't have time today, we'll engage in the future. Very briefly about why Systema Bio exists. Today, globally, 2 billion people on 400 million small farms produce over 70% of the food that we eat and manage the majority of the arable land. So 7 out of 10 food you eat is produced by a small farmer somewhere in the world. Yet these same small farmers lack access to technology, training, financing, but they have enough waste to adopt biogas. There's currently a very high cost, and I'm sure all of you know this, a high cost of the current waste management systems at farms, which is economic from a health perspective, and of course from an environmental perspective as well. Farmers are the most exposed to climate change. They face high risks, high volatility in their crops. We see that the rainy season hasn't yet fully started in Kenya. Farmers have planted and they're waiting for the rain. They're really worried right now. And farmers also produce significant greenhouse gases. And this is why Systema Bio exists, and why we work hard every day is to really build a sustainable, equitable, and empathetic world without waste, because we believe that waste is an immense resource and we can create value from it, which is in our case biogas and organic fertilizer. We've reached over 150,000 people in 30 countries with clean energy and fertilizer. We are just 12 years old now, and we just celebrated our birthday last week. And we have plans to, by 2030, contribute to reducing 1% of global greenhouse gas emissions through our intervention at scales, talking about hundreds and hundreds of thousands of biodigesters all over the world in 2030. A little bit of the big picture, and then I'll zoom into the discussion. And we are really convinced, and it has been proven and discussed widely at COP26, that reducing methane emissions is our best short-term opportunity to reduce the impacts of climate change. Methane is produced by cows, by cow manure. It's one of the most highest greenhouse gases. Methane is roughly 30 times the impact of CO2. And our intervention at Systema Bio converts this methane into CO2 and has really a drastic impact on greenhouse gas emissions reduction. Beyond greenhouse gases and tons of CO2 mitigated, we have a broad range of impacts, which is why I'm personally so passionate about biogas on so many of the SDGs, which you can see here, around gender equality, around water, around climate action, around food security, producing healthier food with organic fertilizer, and really improving the economic income of families. So what does it look like in real life when we zoom out? This is what it looks like at a farm. So any farmer in the world who has animals is going to clean the shed on a daily basis and can input this waste into our biodigester here. And then a natural biological process, which is called anaerobic digestion, is going to transform these bacteria into biogas. And this biodigester will be connected directly, like you can see here, through the pipe to the house and produce clean cooking fuel. On the other side, like I mentioned, and this won't be the focus today, but the biodigester produces organic fertilizer, which can be applied directly on the crops. So roughly with 2 zero grazing cows, you can collect enough waste to cook for 3 hours on biogas and to produce 80 liters of biofertilizer every day. And this, of course, generates a lot of savings as you displace firewood, you displace LPG and charcoal, and you replace it with what I like to call the cleanest of the clean cooking solutions, which is an on-site produced energy that uses the waste on the farm to be produced. This is something you probably, you might all know, which is the situation of a lot of women and people today around the world. These are pictures from some of our customers before they invested in biogas. Smoky kitchens full of soot, a lot of hard work, being bent over the entire day, looking for firewood for hours. Really, when it's the rainy season, lighting a fire with wet firewood takes hours. And when we use LP gas, it can run out anytime. It happens in the middle of the most important meal you're cooking most of the time, and then you're out of energy. And the whole intervention of Systema Bio is really to transform the kitchen and the life of women by converting to biogas as a clean and renewable source of cooking fuel. And I want to talk a little bit about these two women here who probably before were using charcoal, were using firewood, were spending hours looking for firewood, and today they can very efficiently, very quickly cook some quick breakfast at 6 a.m. for their children and then head out to do their own activities. They no longer have to do all the tedious tasks they were doing before. How Systema Bio reaches people like this is through a very, very solid capacity building model on the ground that has our customers at its center. So what you can see on the left here is our 6-step intervention model where that has each farmer and each one of our customers at its core and leads to this virtuous cycle of satisfied customers, new customers, and so on. We do a lot of capacity building, awareness and education on the ground. This is usually our very first step. In Kenya, we host bio dinners where one of our existing customers will cook for their friends and neighbors and invite them over. This is the step 1 here when we do an awareness event. When the people, some farmers might be interested, we will go and visit them on site and design the right size of biodigester that works for them, as well as their financing plan, which I'll get into in a bit. We then own the manufacturing and will produce every digester according to the highest quality standards, and proceed with the installation, which you can see here in this middle picture. After that, the real work actually begins, because this is when we are focusing on capacity building, service and monitoring for every single one of our customers until they are fully satisfied and have adopted biogas. When you radically transform the way you cook from one day to another, when you radically transform the way you manage your farm, where you put the waste, how you clean your cowshed, when you transform the routine of feeding the biodigester, applying organic fertilizer, this requires a lot of training and capacity building to ensure that all these transitions are fully implemented. And this is why our team of technicians, our team of sales agents are all trained with always this long-term adoption and this accompaniment of change in the day-to-day of the farmer. And I've put some more examples here. You can see how our technician on the top left is training the farmer to change the filter. You can see how we collect data to make sure that we know that this customer has been visited, and we are on track with our servicing and monitoring schedule, and much more. So this is really a big focus that I wanted to have today, is sharing about our how we train our users, but it doesn't stop here. Through the users are reached through our team, and this is a big aspect of capacity building internally, where all of our platform really focuses on capacity building of our team on the ground. So we have the sales and financing aspect, the manufacturing, distribution, and then at the core of what we do, all the services, training and monitoring. And this is held into a digital data management platform. And today in Kenya, we have over 100 sales agents. We have around 40 technicians who are in the field every day meeting farmers. This here is a picture from Mexico, but we have similar farms in Kenya, maybe closer to the coast. And this is really at the core of what we do. And to reach the topic of today is access, awareness and access. And this is where the capacity building of our team on the ground. We have an internal Sistema Bio Academy where we train our sales agents to how to reach out to new farmers, how to organize their day, so that every single farmer in Kenya can know about Sistema Bio. And this is really where, just to illustrate what I'm saying, the boots on the ground, all of our employees and contractors all over the place. We have here the team from Kenya, India, Mexico, Colombia, and this is just a small piece of the team. Having boots on the ground is essential in building awareness and improving the access of clean cooking solutions like biogas. As an illustration, we have 3 main offices in Kenya, and then we have around 10 additional distribution points to ensure that we can quickly and efficiently access almost any farm in the country. And those are similar setups in other countries. Of course, I don't want to ignore the elephant in the room, which is the affordability of clean cooking fuels. And this is a problem or a challenge, better said, that we've been facing from the very early days. And our main focus is to offer a smart investment for farmers, meaning they shouldn't be buying it because they are forced to or because it's cheap. They should be interested in buying it because they understand the economic value of changing their entire lifestyle to adopt to biogas. What we've been doing here, and I think this is really important to illustrate, is really focusing on the cash flow profile of smallholder farmers to design an inclusive financing solution. So what you see, this is a dense slide, I apologize, but what you see on the left in the brown columns are the status quo. So this is the monthly expenditure that any farmer will spend on firewood, charcoal, LP gas, or and even chemical fertilizer in some cases. What happens through the intervention of Sistema Bio, and this is where we move to the blue stacked column, is that they're going to invest into biogas, and we will offer a fixed payment plan where every month they're going to pay through a lease to own mechanism to progressively, after 12 or 24 months, become the owner of their biodigester once it's fully repaid. And this will take maximum 2 years. And you can see that something that is really exciting and important in the affordability debate, the payments, the blue payments are slightly smaller than the monthly energy status quo expense, meaning that we have designed our monthly repayment. If a farmer spends 5,000 shillings a month on charcoal and firewood and LP gas, we're going to design their payment plan to be 4,000 or 4,500 shillings, so that even as they repay their loan, they're already in a cash flow positive scenario regarding this investment. And to be honest, I don't know any other investment that allows you to be cash flow positive as you're still repaying the loan to invest in it. And after this 2 year period is when you reached with the orange category here, where there's with a lifetime of over 20 years for a Sistema Bio digester, you have 18 years minimum of pure cash flow benefit. I was visiting some of our customers 2 days ago in Kiambu County, and they kept referring to this energy as being free energy. It's a free clean cooking fuel because they were done with their payments. They had been using biogas for 3 years, had repaid their loan after 2 years, and will now benefit for over 18 years of free, available, self-produced clean energy. And this is for me really something crucial as we think about the clean cooking space, is to put ourselves in the shoes of our customers, understanding their cash flow, and designing innovative payment schemes that enable a cash flow neutral or ideally positive situation. I think I'm reaching to the end. Just to summarize very briefly, our goal is to empower more farmers all over the world through our own distribution and our own team that we train, but also through partnerships. Growing and scaling up is a daunting task, and we're always seeking for partners to accelerate and work together, while always keeping in mind the awareness, access, and affordability of our product, which is at the heart of what we do at Sistema Bio. So I'm available for any follow-up questions. I can also share my details if anyone wants to continue the conversation, and thank you again, Emily, for the invitation.
All right, thank you very much, Esther, for those great insights. And what more interesting is that to reach customers, you have bio dinners. Who wouldn't like to go for bio dinners? I can see
you're welcome. Very welcome.
Yeah, and a great insight also on the affordability topic, where you've talked about the payment plan that you have at Sistema Bio. And to our audience, now is the time for questions for Esther. But before we take your questions, because I can see Andrew's hand up and I can see some questions on the chat, let us just participate in this poll that I ask our tech Rose to share with us, and then we can take your questions. Rose, kindly share with us the poll, and then we'll move forward to the questions. Right, you can see the poll on the screen. What do you consider as the most critical stage that women should be involved in the development of clean cooking technologies? We believe that women are the most people that you see on your kitchen and in the cooking places. And so in which stages do you think they are to be involved in the clean cooking technologies? Is it the feasibility study of the technologies, the design stage, fundraising for development, or the marketing and use of the technologies? We'll take maybe 1 minute to check the poll, and then we can go on with the next part of the meeting.
There should be a select all option.
No. Great. Rudy, let me know when you can put out the poll, but I can see just people have not participated in the poll because they think they should involve women in all the stages of clean cooking technologies development.
Okay, I've ended the poll.
All right.
And,
yes, I can see Esther has claimed that women should be involved in all the stages, but I can see different views from the audience. We have 64% responding to feasibility study on the technologies. That is the most part that they should be involved in the first stage of the development of the technologies. 16% think design stage is the most critical stage. Nobody has mentioned on the fundraising for development. Okay. And we have 20% on marketing and use of the technologies. Ruth, you can close the poll. And then I will, that's the views and the responses on this poll will be put on our reports. And also we can get maybe some insight from Esther. What do you think about the responses that have been shared from our participants?
Yeah, I think this is really a very important question, and it's if I had to, I could select at least two. I would have said in the design of the product, because they're the final users. When you do pottery and you do your own cup, you're always happier to use the cup you have built for yourself, rather than something someone else has designed for you. And I really insisted, I ended up choosing the marketing of the actual clean cooking solutions. This is something we've been very focused on at Systema Bio. I'm really happy that in our sales team, we now have a 50% women representation across Kenya. And we've really seen that, well, not only do I personally care about having a diversity in the team and a healthy gender balance, but we've also seen that when it comes to cooking and when it comes to discussing with the women and understanding the challenges and listening to them, our women sales agents are doing a fantastic job at connecting with the communities and really become spokesperson. We have a few of our sales agents who have risen through the ranks and have now become regional sales managers advocating for better clean cooking adoption in their communities. And this is really important. I think involving women at every single stage, but mostly in the design and marketing.
All right. Thank you for those insights. I will ask maybe Andrew Amadi to unmute and ask his question, and then we can take one more from the chat and move to the next segment.
Okay, thank you very much, Emily, and also Esther, thank you for the great presentation, the work that you're doing, and also for your support for the sector in general. I think you've been very active in the advocacy, and I think this goes a long way to achieving the goals for clean cooking. Having said that, what I want to raise is one of my pet peeves around energy in general. We find that all the different types of energy are sold in different units. So it almost takes an energy expert to be able to tell which one is cheaper than the other. Because if we're talking about charcoal, it's sold in tins. If you're talking about electricity, it's in kilowatt hours. Biogas is in meters cubed. If you're talking about other fuels are in liters, and all of these, apart from the electricity, are not energy units. So what I've done is, with the collaboration of vendors such as yourself, provided or converted all of the energy into energy units based on the output. And when you do that, and I stand corrected, you can interrogate the assumptions and the calculations, you find that biogas is actually the cheapest source of energy that is coming, depending on the pricing, is coming to about less than 1 shilling per kilowatt hour, even when you factor in the labor and the transportation if you require to move the feedstock. So my question is it possible for vendors and practitioners to be more open and transparent about sharing their pricing systems? And then as Kerea, what we would be interested in is to compile this information into a simple and digestible format so that people can come onto the website. You can see the comparative prices of different types of fuel based on the application. And if you click on the link of that price, it will take you to the person who is actually providing the product at that price on a levelized cost. Of course, there will be the issues of financing, and then that can also be taken up by the financing, the microfinance lending, or whichever other institution will provide the capital. But is this something that you think will actually help the sector when the information is broken down into format or into units which now the consumer can identify with? Because, for example, if I look at the primary cost of biogas for cooking or for heating, if I am a business person running a restaurant, then I can be able to see that it's 1/3 of, say, the cost of charcoal or briquettes on a levelized basis. But the challenge then becomes the upfront cost, and you've clearly shown how that can be done. So that is my question about the transparency in pricing, so that consumers can actually be able to understand what they are buying. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. And please share the results of your study. This sounds like really important work of actually being able to compare apples to apples. Of course, every technology has its pros and cons, and the challenge with biogas is the high upfront cost. But there is also, I think at the end of the day, all actors in the clean cooking space should be focused on the end user and on what is best for their economy and for their financial situation and capability. So I really appreciate the work that Kerea has been doing on comparing. Even within biogas, our product is, we don't sell a product only, we sell a product inclusive of service, 10 years after sales warranty, and sometimes financing. So it's also important to consider, Andrew, in your study, what is the product only and what are all the extra services around that are crucial for adoption. A technology might be very affordable. And if there is no proper after sales service, it could be abandoned after a few months, which defeats the purpose. So I'm happy to share any data that can be helpful for more transparency in the sector.
Yeah, thank you. And those are that is actually the information that is needed, because sometimes solutions are sold, especially renewable energy solutions are sold as free energy, but there really is a cost to it. And that cost needs to be factored into the levelized cost. And when you do that, then you get a real cost reflective tariff, for example, that the consumer will pay, and will absolutely be happy to incorporate those. Thank you.
Great.
All right. Thank you very much, Andrew and Esther, for the response. We'll take just one more question from the chat, and maybe we can ask Esther to respond to some of the questions of the people's questions that have been put on the chat. And also, if you have any questions, we can harvest them and share with Esther, and we'll get back to you through our WhatsApp broadcast, where I'll tell our tech team to share the link so that you'll be able to find that information from there. So John Mary Migande, I hope I've mentioned your name well, asked, what is the cost of biogas per entry in comparison to LPG? Have you done an analysis of cost comparison with LPG gas? You can
yeah, thanks, Emily. I think Andrew has actually just provided the response for this by comparing all the different possible clean cooking fuels and their cost in a comparable unit. And I see Wilson had also answered here. So John, feel free to go to the CAREA website. I think Andrew mentioned the study is published there. I'd like to
not yet published.
Not
we'll
yet.
Be publishing soon, maybe from the second or the first week of April.
Oh, excellent. Well, that's tomorrow, basically. So feel free to review the CAREA website within 2 weeks to get all the details. I wanted to get very briefly and then hand over to the next speaker on the question of maintenance. All of our biodigesters are designed for the lowest and most user-friendly maintenance, lowest cost and user-friendly maintenance. So Paul Maina was asking about the filters. What you need to do, it's extremely simple. Every 2 weeks or every month, you need to open the filter, which you can just unscrew. And the actual filter is steel wool, which is you can find in any duka in anywhere in the countryside in Kenya, and costs around 5 to 10 shillings to replace. So we've focused our entire product design to ensure the most affordable maintenance and user-friendly one. So that's a really good question. Thank you for asking it.
Right, thank you, Esther, for adding the questions. And you can see Ruth has already shared the link on the chat. So if you have any questions, kindly just join our WhatsApp broadcast. We'll have the questions from the chat, and we'll be able to share the responses from our speakers. And to our next segment, you are about to meet the brain behind the Vaxibox. Nora Magero is a mechanical engineer and a renewable energy consultant with experience in design and management of grid energy utilities. She's an ambassador for Sustainable Goal 7. She's the co-founder of Drop Access, a non-profit organization that has redefined energy access in rural communities. She has won different awards, including Philanthropy Award winner 2017, Energy Social Impact 2020 Award, Energy Champion of the Year Award in 2020. And also she has been referred by publishers as the innovator that has helped Kenyans to get vaccinated. Today, she's going to share with us about this Vaxibox, and I can see Nora is in the room with us. Nora, over to you.
Hi, Emily. You make me look too good. So much pressure. But thank you for that. And it's such an honor to be here. So I'll just share my slides. All right. I'll put it on slideshow mode. Yeah. Yeah. Can you see my slides? All right. Thanks so much. And like I said, it's really always such an honor to be part of these roundtables and just to present our work. And through it also I've seen the growth that I've experienced as a practitioner in this field, as an innovator, as an entrepreneur, and also just as somebody who's really contributing to ensuring the progress for clean energy technologies within the Kenyan and the African space. So once more, my name is Nora Magero. I studied mechanical engineering, yes, and also renewable energy, and I'm a certified energy manager. And I always like to identify myself as an engineer who turned into an entrepreneur. But in between, there are other things that happened. So I am the co-founder of Drop Access. And just briefly, Drop Access, we are youth-led and women-led social enterprise, and we believe in developing innovation within the African space that are affordable, that are practical, that actually really do serve urgent and immediate needs. And also we play around with engineering to see how we can manufacture these technologies within the Kenyan space, because we know the importance of developing such kind of business models when it comes to creating employment opportunities, being able to deliver sustainable technologies, and also monitoring them, and also just discovering what it could be, and trying to transition a country like Kenya from a retail economy to a producer economy. So at Drop Access, we provide customized, affordable, and sustainable cold storage solution, among other things. I made this presentation mostly about one of the services that we provide, and that is the cold storage solution to just bridge the cold chain gaps in various sectors within Kenya. So also specifically to what we've done that has taken so much traction, and it's quite extensive, and also the purpose of this presentation, I will talk about the challenge that we picked up to address aggressively and in our own way with other partners at the organization, and that is the vaccine inequity. And vaccine inequity is just a tip of the iceberg, because then if there's vaccine inequity, then there is also inequity in other healthcare sectors. And it's guided by the fact that still today, a data that was proven 10 years ago, it's still true today, makes me really wonder about development and where we are heading to. 1.5 million children still die each year of diseases that could have been prevented through vaccination. And most of them obviously are in Africa, sadly enough. If you look at what are they called, encouraging factors surrounding this, is because there isn't really appropriate cold storage and sufficient cold storage for vaccines, that it's still being weighed down by the fact that there's so much, there's still energy poverty within the continent that is affecting various aspects, from food security to the healthcare, and to just general equality for all human beings. So that being said, and just giving a brief of the problem that we decided to focus on as an organization, and something that is really, really close to our hearts, personally for my heart, I settled down with my organization. Sorry, I don't know why the slides are not moving. Oh yeah, there we go. So my organization and I settled down to manufacturing Vaxibox. And just in a nutshell, and I'll explain so much about it, is Vaxibox is solar-powered, IoT-enabled portable vaccine refrigerator that is meant to fit the gaps of the last mile cold chain distribution of the healthcare products, especially for off-grid communities that do not have reliable electricity, unreachable communities, communities in need, communities that have been affected by climate hazards such as floods, droughts, and the likes. And that's why the whole essence of Vaxibox was created, to be able to provide, to be able to deploy these healthcare items to these communities as fast as possible, as efficient as possible, and also just to ensure that they're also being kept in the best conditions as much as possible. So this is beyond just vaccines, because also there is the problem of blood for transfusion, especially like for pregnant mothers who are in labor and their risk of going through postpartum hemorrhage. And also there is still the issue of communities that still need to store healthcare at home, healthcare items at home, such as insulin for the non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, and also other healthcare needs like transporting lab samples from one point to the other, because all these just contribute to the quality of healthcare that is being provided in this space, and also how we can integrate technologies to be able to cater for these gaps within this sector. Now, all right, so just a deeper dive into Vaxibox and what it does is that it's a portable refrigerator that was designed so that it's able to fit onto a motorbike, a bicycle, a boat, be carried, or any form of mobility that is available within this last mile needs and framework. And we design it to be able to be in transit, but also to keep the contents inside cold, or rather in the right temperature, in the appropriate temperature, so that when they get to the destination, they actually still the best level or the best tier of medical, the quality of Medicare. So what happens in Kenya is that I think most of us Kenyans actually do get the second efficacy for the vaccines, and it's because there are gaps in the cold chain that just cannot allow us to get the best efficacy or the best type of medication, something that hasn't been tampered with, or the temperature fluctuation hasn't really been too much. And that is a worrying trend, especially when we don't have technologies to even ensure that we want to be moving from tier 2 to tier 3. And that is why Vaxibox is essentially in coming into that gap, to just see that we try to improve the quality of healthcare that is being given in any community. And that's a human rights issue. Like, wherever we are, whoever we are, we should get the best medication as much as possible. We should get the best technologies to save our lives as much as possible. So Vaxibox is a vapor compressor refrigerator. It's locally designed and made in Kenya. I am part of the design team with other team of engineers and contractors. It's made within the continent. It's made with the people. We designed this fridge with communities that we've worked with over time since 2019, just to listen to what is it that they want and where the gap is and how we can actually fill in the gap. And it's solar powered, obviously, because, well, if you're talking about these communities that have inequality in healthcare, then energy poverty is definitely rooted in there, and it's just some of the driving factors that creates all this inequality. And further on, to increase the holding time for this refrigerator, it has a battery backup to ensure that even in times of low solar resource during the night, the fridge is actually still able to maintain like the contents inside, like to be in operation. So it has at least 12-hour battery backup for these, the design that we launched in the market last year. So that's just a picture of, to the left, yeah, just a schematic of refrigeration. For any engineer, you'd be able to understand this. Obviously, there's so many tweaks for it to make it work, because this is a gadget that is in motion. And it's not all refrigeration systems are actually designed to be in motion. So there have to be so many intricacies that have to be put in place. Is it heavy enough to fit on a motorbike? Will it still work? Like, will the refrigeration cycle still continue while it's in motion? What is the highest angle of tilt that we can actually manage it, since it's going to be something that is portable? And also, what are the safety factors? Like, if it's being carried on a bike, what's the weight that's required? And weight, and putting this weight against what's the sufficient capacity, or rather for storing vaccine for a facility or anything that is used to transport vaccine. So that is the hardware consideration and the engineering that went into designing Vaxibox. And so much is still coming up each and every single day. Now, one thing about Vaxibox is when we launched it out for testing, it came out very apparent that we can't just give a cold storage solution. There has to be a way of monitoring this, because data collection is still a very important issue, and it's still it's really, really vital when it comes to planning healthcare products. And also when you bring out energy technologies and productive use of energy assets, it's good if you're able to monitor the operation, to monitor if actually they're serving the end users the best way possible. Then really, what's the point of us actually bringing these technologies out into the market? So Vaxibox has a communication capability where we fitted it with PCB boards and chips and all that concerns communication that can possibly be put in a fridge to monitor the temperature, to monitor the resource, how the solar resource, its operation, charging, to monitor the battery, to monitor other auxiliary components, like how long a fridge like this, how long is the door? Does the door stay open, and is that appropriate? Is that sufficient? Then that also now guides how we pair it with the energy solutions that are available in the market. Because if we can't run the fridge on any power source, then really where we bring up this technology. So we collect this data, and we are committing to provide the end user the best after sales support, because one of the challenges that I have seen within the market is components degrading faster, and they aren't really efficient, and also just that lack of support for the items that are being sold. Like, if people are going to exchange money for this, then it's good if you actually give them the promise that it's going to serve you for the next X number of years, and we want to ensure that as much as possible, but also do it within practical limits. Hence, that's why we have taken the responsibility of monitoring the fridge on behalf of the end user, just so that we know it's being used appropriately, it's being optimized. If there is a fault that we can fix remotely, then we're going to do it. Or do we need to send a technician to site? Or do we need to recall the fridge to the workshop? Just obviously to ensure that we don't break the cold chain gap at any one point, but also we give the best technologies, productive use of energy assets in the market as much as possible. All right, so these are just some of the views for the Vaxibox. This is all engineering and CAD designs, just to give a visual representation of the front, the back. It's portable, it comes with a telescoping handle. You can able to plug it on DC, AC, your cigarette lighter if you need to transport this in a car. And I know that there's so many gaps when it comes to logistics of healthcare items, especially for like refugee communities and those really harsh environments. So it's important that any power source that is available is also able to ensure that this stays in operation, but also it's efficient. And what else? Yeah, those are just some views of how it looks like, to give like a visual representation. And just a heads up that these pictures are the next development of the fridge, because bringing out this technology in the market hasn't really been easy peasy. We thought that we'll just launch it to the market and it's good to go, but then again, developing technologies takes a bit of time. It takes a bit of partnerships, takes a bit of work. So we are always moving in research and development, in finding out what can we leverage on what's out there that can actually include in the Vaxibox to ensure that we give the best service as much as possible to the continent. Yeah. And yes, so just a brief, Vaxibox is used for transportation of all medical items, the likes of vaccines, the blood and lab samples. But then because we've built this fridge to be able to have a holding time that is appropriate and sufficient for healthcare, I just need to put this out there. This is not the end of it. Like, it's just not locked completely for vaccines. This fridge is still very much relevant in food security, because it can still be adapted for storage of food, especially among smallholder farming communities, like the dairy farmers, even the veterinary services, like those who need to store the vaccines for poultry, for cattle. So just to mention this a bit, and maybe I get carried away here. So we have an incident that happened in Makueni, and people call it a cold, where twice in a year, like flocks of chicken just die suddenly. And tracing it back, there is strong evidence that is pointing to the kind of the quality of vaccines and medication that is being administered to this. Now you see, all this just eventually do affect so much. It affects food security, it affects carbon emissions, and so much. And we're trying to bridge these gaps as much as possible with technologies that do serve that fit in several parts of the supply chain, just to ensure that at least we are touching several areas of sustainability. And just even before I talk about this, it's very, very important to monitor this kind of technology. And most of people here are engineers and you've dealt with technologies, and you do understand the importance of having that information and that data, because then it guides on what needs to be developed or what needs to be improved. But when you look at the healthcare sector, it actually guides the kind of quality of life that we're going to have in the future. If we are able to reduce the placebos that is being given, and also the counterfeit medication that is being given as much as possible by ensuring traceability measures for all the items, medical items, it is a plus. It is a plus for humanity, because then it means we reduce the chances of losing population maybe too early because they got ill, or even they got the life was incapacitated in one way or another in a ways that could have been prevented. So all that monitoring all just meshes together to ensure that we really control the kind of the quality of service that we give to humanity. So now our Vaxibox target customers, and I'm sure I've mentioned this again, is obviously the rural 300 bit below healthcare facilities that serve most of the majority of the population, that not just in Kenya, but the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. And these are the communities that actually do live in areas with either no electricity grid or a weak grid, or gosh, just no hope or even getting a grid. These are the target areas that we really want to meet, because we believe there should be equality for them, whether it's going to be for healthcare or also for food security. They should have these technologies that will just progress their lives and just create ways of development. And also we are targeting the logistical services, the likes of those who transport blood from point A to point B, those who transport animal vaccinations, and need go home to home vaccinating flocks and flocks and flocks, and they spend hours out there in the field. We just want to ensure that their work is being done and being optimized, and also they're giving the best services. We are targeting home-based medical use and also home-based use. At the end of the day, it's a fridge. Like, there's so much that we can do with beyond storing medication. There's also storing food for home use in the house, just to reduce, just to ensure there is conscious consumption of what's being produced out there by the smallholder farming community. And also field-based medical care, just to top it all up. Yeah. All right, so we've not done this alone, lucky enough. I started as a solo founder, honestly, and it was maybe way out of my head, but I am glad that I was able to draw in other founders to come in and work with really amazing people within the industry, people in the energy industry, people in the healthcare industry, people in the climate change space, because at the end of the day, we are tackling so many areas of sustainability and so much of the spectrum of the SDGs. And we've worked with really amazing communities, the likes of Acumen, the CDC group in the UK, the Climate Launchpad, and the KCIC, the Vilgrowth Africa, and UDIDO. And we hope that we can even bring in more people as much as possible, because I have seen how much putting up these technologies require collaboration as much as possible, just to ensure that the world is moving at the same pace, and each and every single one of us actually is not left behind as we try to roll these programs and technologies in the communities. And yeah, so that is Vaxibox in a nutshell. And like I mentioned, it's touching so many spectrum of the SDGs, from good health, affordable, clean energy, industry innovation infrastructure, which is really, really important to me, because I was jobless at one point in this country. I was a jobless engineer. So I really do appreciate the fact that Vaxibox has created employment for so many youths in Kenya, which I'm really, really proud about that, full-time and even part-time. And that's just an indication of how manufacturing these technologies and include them within the space can actually transform our economies, and this potential that lies there so much. And also Africa can just be part of producing these technologies in the climate change and clean energy space. Yeah, eventually we just reduce inequalities, whether it's job opportunities, women actually having equality to get access to technologies that make their lives better, and also youth getting employment, and also just participating in meaningful work. So thank you all so much, and you can reach out to me. We're always looking for partners to work with, and I welcome any question.
Thank you, Nora, for great insights on your innovation on the Vaxibox. I'm sure our participants have been able to pick up great nuggets from that. And just to echo what Nora has said,
Did we lose you, Emily?
We lost Emily. Yeah.
Oh no.
We did.
Oh, we can give a minute to join in, but I will take any question that anybody has or any clarification. Yeah.
Okay. Nora, I want to thank you, I think, for that good innovation. I think this is the technology of the future and now. And well done for that again. Yeah. Just a quick one now here again. Yeah. And I think this is a great invention that is going to really help a lot of communities in this country, the healthcare professionals and many more others. Currently, I think I looked at one of the articles that I think for this, for where you are working with this person from this Kajiado, okay?
Yeah.
Where the nurse there again, and they are saying, I not the fridge is about 40 liters capacity. That is exactly. Yeah. Now, if you are to target, currently you are looking at the healthcare professionals for the Vaxibox, and you just said that you could be able to expand this much more to look at even other things like dairy farmers and many other things. Again, are you looking at to expand that? And if you are doing that, have you considered, because it's very difficult to cater for the age of everyone. Somebody might come now, of the shelf product that we buy them, you go and buy 20, liters fridge, 80, 100, and all this again. I'm sure there is what informed you to come with the 40 liters, and mostly is the vaccine now. What are your plans now for rolling out so that we could go beyond even the healthcare professionals to use it on that again, knowing that there are, of course, design parameters that you need to consider because of either portability, of course, the solar availability, the radiation available, and also the power that because we know that is being charged off grid. Do you have, Mamu, you first of all want to concentrate first of all on the Vaxibox in the health professionals, and now deal with this rage again, and then now go into other areas now here like agriculture and all this again, because it's a very, very important thing now here again, as you're saying, the rural communities could benefit it beside the health professionals in using it for other purposes again. But I know because you're perhaps piloting it now here, you may be focusing this and maintaining that range of just 40 liters and focusing on the health professionals. What are your plans maybe for the rollout again? Because
thank you so much for that. Thank you. So honestly, we started rolling out cold storage at drop access for dairy farmers before we pivoted into vaccine. And we pivoted into vaccines because COVID broke out and it became a low-lying fruit. And also the partners that we work with were willing to support us to develop Vaxibox, or rather the healthcare. But the original plan was actually to support farmers with an affordable cold storage solution that is smart, that can be monitored, that is locally made, that can be fixed when it needs to be fixed. And so the future plan is to obviously have Vaxibox, but then still continue with the production of refrigeration for farmers, because that's even there's a larger market available for that, much more than even healthcare. And we, with farmers, we are targeting larger size capacity of 100 to 120 liter capacity refrigerator. What we know is by figuring out how to do Vaxibox, because Vaxibox has so much intricacies that is involved and so much that we have to deal with. Like I know, like I just had a meeting with Verasol a few days ago. There's so much work to be done. I know, like once we comply with that, we're able to to be a smoother transition, well, I hope, into producing still a robust refrigerator for food use. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that would be very, very helpful as well. And now also considering the shortage of, because this is an equipment, of course, an engineering gadget that needs maintenance. So now, farmers sometimes could buy and all these, or the people who are using it and forget, because once you have the gadget, you run it to failure, no maintenance and such. Have you created the bells and whistles within your communication device to tell you or to alert the user now when they need to service it? And all these, and look at this comment, remember this is an engineering gadget, and that could make that if they don't do it, they'll scrap it within a very short while again. The communication gadget should be able to alert them about the service cycle so that you are sure that the equipment is maintained at the optimum operating condition. Have you thought through about that?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. And thanks so much for asking that. That's really, really important. And this communication aspect for the refrigerator is supposed to inform both the farmer and us on almost each and every single aspect as much as possible for the refrigerator. Does it need to be serviced? Is this actually being mishandled? Is it not being optimized, or what needs to be replaced in the fridge? And we want to make it as seamless as possible to just avoid the situation of technologies coming into the country. Then when they're broken up and because there's some proprietary issues, they can't be fixed and it becomes a landfill. We are trying to avoid that as much as possible, just to reduce that e-waste. So for us, communication is really, really big, so that instead of dumping the whole fridge, we can replace a part or we can service it. Yeah, so thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Just the last one now. Yeah, I hope you've patented the technology. Don't lose it like the candle. Now that is our own, created by our own. No, you lost the candle to the Japanese despite being our own. How have you patented just to ensure that this,
we are getting patents, we're getting industrial patents, we're getting copyrights of several, what are they called, classes, yes, for this. And also just a question that I've seen on the, about the battery capacity. So when we started with the compression refrigerator, it was to just, not just, but it was to prove that we can actually make refrigeration as engineers, and it can be viable and it can be locally available in the market. Then with time, we even got into this world of other technologies that we can incorporate. So what I can tell you is that don't worry, battery is not the last part of it, but we are currently working with the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab for University, the Berkeley in California, Berkeley University in California, and we're developing other technologies that we can incorporate within Vaxibox, which is really, really cool, because then we get to share the best of both worlds and also do that in knowledge transfer and technology transfer to build really superior products within the African space.
Right. Thank you very much, Nora, for answering the questions. For those that have not been answered, we'll be able to share that in our WhatsApp broadcast. And Nora will be able to respond to this. I can see a lot of congratulations to you, Nora, for the innovation and a really amazing job.
Okay, thanks so much. Just a moment, Emily. Am I allowed to drop out? It's kind of midnight where I am.
It's okay. Thank you very much
for
your time.
All right. Okay, bye. Thank you all.
To our next speaker, who is a climate change expert with over 10 years of experience. Michael is passionate about renewable energy and has worked with different organizations over the years on advocacy and design of solutions that are geared to protecting the environment. Dr. Michael Orangi Ochambo has a PhD in integrated social fertility management agriculture and is currently the country director at Rainforest Alliance. He is today going to discuss with us a topic on clean cooking technologies for improved environment and climate change sustainability. Without further ado, I will welcome Michael to be able to take us through this topic. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you so much, Emily. Yeah, that is an overrated introduction. Yeah, but yeah, as Emily just mentioned, the country director for Rainforest Alliance. And of course, my passion has been well expressed by Emily. No doubt that that's the accurate description of myself. Yeah, I work for the Rainforest Alliance organization that is an NGO based in, okay, it's a global organization basically, but just for the sake of this presentation on energy, I want to go straight to the presentation. Not sure whether you can be able to see it. Are you able to see my slides?
Yes, we can
see the screen.
Great, great, thank you. Yeah, so Rainforest Alliance, basically, I just want to kind of give an overview of who we are. Rainforest Alliance is an international non-government organization that is non-profit. We've been in existence for over 35 years, and we work with farmers, foresters, communities, scientists, governments, environmentalists, businesses or companies dedicated to conserving biodiversity and ensuring sustainable livelihoods. And of course, largely this organization is global, as I've already mentioned, and we've been renowned for certification. So we do a lot of certification by use of what we call our sustainable agriculture standard, and we certify producers and supply chain actors who uphold our ideals in the certification program for Rainforest Alliance. And we also work in integrated landscapes for purposes of conserving the environment, the biodiversity, and working closely with the communities. So we have long-term partnerships also with major brands and companies that also uphold sustainability. And as well, we deal with very many products in the globe. Over 5,000 companies deal with the array of products that we deal with. Of course, top of those products or crops we handle is mainly cocoa, coffee, tea, bananas, forest products, of course now flowers, cut flowers, vegetables and fruits, and a little bit of herbs and spices, which is slowly transitioning out of our programs into another arrangement we call Union of Bioethical Trade. And our presence is in over 174 countries that consume RA certified products. We've certified over 2 million farmers in the globe, and our presence is in, like I mentioned, very many countries, but we have actual presence and active projects that we run in about 76 countries. And of course, when you now kind of totalize, we know we have an impact of about 5 million plus hectares that are certified under our program. That is, they are under sustainable production following our certification programs. Now, coming to this program, of course, basically, just also to mention that the mission of RA is largely to create a world where nature and people thrive in harmony. So that is why we bring in the elements of climate change aspects and ensure that we do everything that is possible so that we do not suffer negatively from the effects of climate change and we conserve our communities. One of those areas that we want to make that big intervention and impact is in renewable energy. And our focus for this particular discussion is the realization that over 90% of our Kenyan population basically relies on use of biomass, basically for cooking and heating. And you can see the photos there. Go to tea factories, go to coffee cooperatives, and maybe large industries. You will see such kind of heaps of good fuel, basically for heating and processing, for example, tea. You can see in the rural communities how our young girls are fetching firewood from the forests and from the farms, and reliability of that in cooking, using whichever methods, whether the 3 stones or the kind of improved stoves. When we focus on the tea industry, because basically our interventions so far have been so much focused on the tea industry, which I think people believe that is the most destructor of our environment because of the volumes of good fuel that is used to process tea. So Kenya, of course, we know that Kenya contributes quite a lot in terms of the GDP, in terms of employment, in terms of the farmers. We talk of several counties where tea is produced in Kenya. So it is a big stake. But again, when you look at the good fuel consumption from the tea growing regions, it is alarming. And that is why we decided to focus on this. And our intervention basically for these particular tea landscapes is that we were focusing to kind of provide affordable and clean energy, which is kind of a driver to ensure sustainable agricultural processes, but also as an alternative biomass energy in terms of processing of tea, which is again a bit probably cheaper than what the current processes are, even including firewood. And also to promote accessibility of affordable, efficient and clean cooking and energy technologies for farmers in terms of enabling them to reduce their consumption or their reliability on fuel goods, especially firewood, be able to reduce the energy costs that they use in their households. But also we've realized that there's a lot of health problems that come along with the 3 stones and firewood in terms of smoke. I mean, even the time that is spent blowing air into those pieces of firewood inside the 3 stones, and probably a lot of money that can be saved in the households. And the other elements that we also focus on is that we realized that when you look at, for example, a catchment of a tea factory in Kenya, especially smallholder owned, we realized that those heaps of firewood that you see under shade or in open air, that they are even not even a half of what the households that stay in that particular catchment spend or use. So we realized that even as much as people look at the fuel good consumption at factories as really bringing negative effects because of deforestation, we realized that households even spend much more than that. And we were also looking at the elements of introducing more renewable sources of energy in tea processing, running machineries, and a lot of these even household energy sources like brooding chicks and farm fertigation, especially for pie products that come out of the renewable technologies that we were introducing. So a lot of elements also, we did an analysis that gave us a very, very alarming kind of figures when we were doing our baseline studies and be able to understand how is the energy consumption in the tea landscapes. So you realize from that study that we realized that energy, which is both electrical and thermal, take her up to around 22% of the total made tea production costs in our factories. The thermal energy is mainly firewood and is responsible for about 50% of the total energy costs. And a single tea factory burns an equivalent of 30,000 cubic meters of biomass fuel per year, which is an equivalent of 90,000 trees. And the price of firewood over years has been increasing. And of course, those are the figures that we found out when we were doing our baseline study. And why this intervention as an NGO that believes in biodiversity and conservation? We were looking at the elements of reducing energy costs, hence production costs and profits to the respective factories and farmers. An objective of increasing energy security in factories and households, conservation of ecosystem and climate change mitigation. And of course, one of the resultant outcomes of this is that we have even seen improved health conditions of workers and farmers, and sometimes enhanced productivity. So when we were looking at the availability of what alternatives can be used by these factories and by the households in the tea growing regions, we found that we could rely on alternative biomass fuels such as briquettes, solar as well, hydropower, carbonized charcoal briquettes for households. And that comes along with improved cook stoves, solar lighting devices, and biogas plants that will support heating, lighting, and processing of animal feeds at the household level. So what kind of program that we came up with? After all that study and analysis, we came up with a program that we called Empowering Rural Communities and Households with Renewable Energy. And this is a program that was sponsored by IKEA Foundation and is coming to an end this June, that is June 2022. We partnered with an organization called ENSO Impact and working together with the KTDA Foundation and a commercial briquette manufacturer called Tamua in Kisumu. And of course, our target areas were households and also factories being able to switch from use of firewood to briquettes. This is commercial briquettes that are bigger than the briquettes that are used at the household level. So our main focus was to ensure that we make accessible these technologies, make the factories and households aware about these technologies, and also explore avenues how these technologies will be made affordable. So this is some of the elements that we have been doing in that landscape. As you can see, one of the photos is indicating the actual process of making household briquettes, which then needs to be used with those cooking energy or efficient cook stoves that are in the middle of that slide. There are different varieties and different types of those stoves. And also, you can also see solar products that we were trying to market and the biomass briquettes that are used with or alongside those kind of improved or efficient cook stoves. For the factories, we were looking at some commercial kind of briquettes that are, of course, bigger size, that kind of emulate the size of pieces of firewood that are used currently. And we facilitated a central processing factory for those kind of briquettes. The one I mentioned that is called Tamua, based in Kisumu, and they utilize basically waste materials from the sugar companies. So the waste or the biogas that comes out of the sugar processing is what they use to process this kind of briquettes, this size of briquettes. And for biomass that is used for household briquettes is quite a lot. We have waste charcoal, dust, there is also biogas, there is rice husks and all other materials that are available, even organic materials from the farm. So we've done a lot of awareness creation about these products where we go to factories and maybe when farmers have events, we demonstrate how these kind of stoves can be used together with briquettes, but also at a later stage, we advanced not only to use briquettes, but also to use pellets that will use higher tier stoves. Basically, we call tier 3 or tier 4 efficient cooking stoves. That is what that picture depicts. And what has worked so far in terms of trying to make these technologies affordable, basically we came up with a solution of creating something like a revolving fund where we give a company or some of these household energy centers some funding in advance that they can be able to purchase the energy cooking stoves with and rent or probably extend the same credit facility to their farmers so that farmers will be able to pay in installments after they have taken and they're utilizing and enjoying the benefits of those stoves. We also organized groups that can be able to go forward and mobilize people and market these kind of products. We've targeted specific markets and including, for example, shopping centers and schools that can be able also to use these technologies and explored how we can also advance some of these cookstoves at subsidized rates to most of the farmers or to the household energy centers or to last mile entrepreneurs that have taken up the responsibility of selling these stoves to the end users in the tea growing landscapes. So far as we speak, we have created about 8 household energy centers. These are basically people that we've trained and we've provided with equipment to be able to manufacture household briquettes. And in addition, they also act as one-stop shops, not only for briquettes, but also for the improved cookstoves where they can be able to get them from. And of course, they are easily accessible by the farmers in communities where they operate from. We've had about 23,745 households using these improved energy cooking stoves and the briquettes and pellets that are manufactured by the same people. Out of these interventions, we've seen creation of 70 jobs, both when you look at the people who are now fully engaged in manufacturing these briquettes at household level, as well as taking up the business of spreading or selling these briquettes and pellets or selling the energy cooking stoves. In the central processing units that is making the commercial briquettes for use in factories, we've had a factory that has now employed 10 full-time people and about 52 seasonal staff that kind of come in and when it is really high peak production. And good to note that about 84% of these employed staff are women and youth. And currently, we have about 22 factories who are now using these non-carbonized briquettes commercially, replacing the use of firewood. Not fully, but to some percentage. Some maybe are at 10% and 90% firewood. Others are maybe at 30% and 70% firewood, but our desire is that they keep on improving. At least even if we achieved only 30% switch to use of commercial briquettes and 70% fuel wood, that would be a step forward. We will have saved so many trees from going into extinction. So what we have discovered to date is that in the approaches that we use to reach out to the households, we've realized that not one size fits all. So we have to use an integrated approach to successfully ensure that people take up these technologies. So that includes how to advance financial support, probably some to be connected with microfinance institutions or banks. And we need indeed an enabling policy and regulation and environment that recognizes these people and be able to give them, like starting capital or even expansion for their products. We've also realized that people in the rural households still do not give, like alternative cookstoves a priority because they are so much used with the 3 stones, and they still have, a lot of firewood available. So still they do not see the need of, they are not concentrated. But I know in the current situation where we have rising prices of LPG, rising prices of kerosene, rising prices, or maybe when deforestation or any cutting of trees is kind of banned, then people have to look for alternatives. But also we realize that some probably shy off because the quality of the materials they get, that is the briquettes or pellets, probably is not the same. They could buy from different entrepreneurs and they discover that when I buy from so-and-so, it burns for longer than when I buy from this particular source. So that kind of standardization is not yet very much in the Kenyan market. And that's a front that we've also realized that there's a need, and we need to have a kind of standardization for both carbonized and non-carbonized briquettes. And even the stoves that are used, I think not all of them that have been certified by KIRDI or KEPS. So there are still some products in the market that are in use, but still not really certified or not really very efficient. And of course, replacing firewood as a primary source of energy in the rural villages, it's still a challenge because people still don't see the need or the challenge. And this has brought a new dimension to us that we now even want to focus more to drier areas, to urban areas, so that we move focus from just focusing on high potential areas where people still don't see the need because they still have a lot of firewood. So note that they need to really, move to other sources, because unless they understand why they need to use renewable sources and avoid cutting trees in the dimension of climate conservation or climate change mitigation aspects, then that is when they will appreciate. But you see, for local farmers, that is a far-fetched idea. Unless they see the cost element, and maybe those ones that have been having health issues and now are able to, when they hear also maybe testimonies of somebody who used to have asthma and now is using clean cooking energy sources, and the asthma is gone because of the smoke, then that is when they start thinking positively about adopting these new improved technologies. So apart from just focusing on the factories and the households, we also had a program that was focusing biogas. And of course, for biogas, as my other colleague already mentioned, there's a lot that comes out of biogas interventions, improved environmental health, healthier families because no smoke and all those elements. You use the byproduct from the biogas to have kitchen gardens. Some use it for napier grass, and even some use the same napier grass and the same probably energy that comes from the biogas plant to cut the animal feeds and all that, and lighting as well. So there's a lot of energy benefits that are derived out of biogas plants. We did this in still the tea landscapes, and we've installed about 8 biogas plants in some farmers. So what was happening is that we could approach a factory and we request for them to identify who has probably potential, who has 1 or 2 cows that can generate enough, input or cow dung for a biogas plant, and then we use the funding from our donors to put up those plants and demonstrate to them how they can use the bioauxiliary for like kitchen farming, and how they can use that as organic manure for their households, and also the extra gas that they produce in terms of their lighting, their cooking, and driving the chaff cutters. So this is some of the demonstration of what we've done and how we were doing those biogas plants. Of course, dome-shaped, and I think we've seen testimonies from some of the beneficiaries, how this has really helped them and how they are really utilizing all that, even in terms of farming as organic, even for their kitchen gardens, the use of that bioauxiliary, of course. And we are thinking of others who have even gone ahead as to use that energy source for brooding of chicks. Some are also exploring other further avenues of utilizing that energy. And actually, we've come across even a farmer who says now she even does free cooking of her daughters, where they got married to some miles away. They walk and bring dairy where they come and boil for free, because this is also free energy kind of. And we are really appreciating what's happening in the landscapes. So we are thinking of expanding this kind of interventions to reach more farmers and in new landscapes, even in the coffee landscapes. And that is what we've already done. We have already also gotten funding to extend the same into coffee landscapes. And we are targeting in the coffee landscapes to be able to use the coffee husks that are always rotting and drying idle in the coffee factories or the wet mills, to be able to act like biomass for making briquettes, and also train the farmers on how to adopt the clean cooking energy stoves. We are already piloting with one Kifugu Farmers Cooperative Society. And the design is that we want to reach around 1,000 farmers, 1,500 farmers, and also establish quite a number of household energy centers that will be utilizing those husks to manufacture briquettes, and also have last mile entrepreneurs who will be selling and distributing those briquettes to the farmers, or to the 1,500 farmers, as well as the improved cooking stoves. So we've just basically signed an MOU with those partners, and we look forward to establishing and extending these technologies into the coffee landscapes as well. And that's what we expect to see forward in terms of maybe some like the last mile entrepreneurs or household energy centers. Like the last picture you can see there, stocking. That's somebody who has already opened a business basically to sell the briquettes, to sell the stoves and the solar products, and they are making a living out of that. Thank you so much. Any questions? Back to Emily.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Michael, for your great presentation and the great work you're doing to empower rural farmers on clean and sustainable cooking technology. And then we have one question in the chat from June Claire. If you would unmute and ask your question, June, or I will read it out for you. All right. June is asking, this is very...
Hi. Yeah, thank you for the good morning. That was fascinating. I learned a lot. I wrote some notes. I'm curious, I may not have noticed, but correct me if I'm wrong. Have you any resellers of the briquettes or the stoves within the coast region? I would be very keen to know. Thank you.
Coast region as in Mombasa coast. Or...
There are actually 8 counties. There's Kwale, Mombasa, Kilifi, and then the others further inland, but specifically the 3 along the seashore. Might you know of any?
Not yet. But actually, like I mentioned, what we've realized out of this project is that it takes a long time to convince farmers who are in landscapes where there are so many trees to adopt these technologies. And we are thinking in the next phase to target where, like in the urban centers, like in the coastal region, maybe where there's no a lot of, firewood available. So probably in those areas, there'll be better and faster uptake of these technologies than where people already have a lot of firewood available. So they really don't see the need unless they get into the elements of climate change effects.
Okay, great. I'll definitely get in touch with you. I'd be happy to see how I can partner with you. I live at the coast, and I know there's definitely a need, and there's an interest. But thank you for a lovely talk. Thank you.
Most welcome.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for the response to that. And I can see many people asking of your presence in different places in the country. And I can see Mike has already shared his email on the chat. So you
email
can
address. Yeah.
Email address on the chat so that you can reach out to him and get to know more about what they're doing as Rainforest Alliance. So at this
juncture, question.
Emily, for Laikipia, we are extending. Actually, we have those targeted interventions in Mount Kenya landscape. And in Mount Kenya landscape, we are looking at about 5 counties: Nyeri, Embu, Kirinyaga, Laikipia, Meru, Tharaka Nithi. So Laikipia is among them. So we are coming.
All right, as you've heard, they are coming. So we just wait for them. They will be in Laikipia soon enough. And at this juncture, we've come to the end of our...
I had a question before you close it. Let me just... yes, this is to Michael. Thank you very much. I think that was a very fabulous presentation. I think through it, you really proved to us that as a country, I think we are sitting on a gold mine. I can't actually believe the potential that we really have, and the government is just sitting pretty with our leaders now here again, rudderless, and the way, of course, that we can create a lot of jobs for young people now through the ecosystem of having small people, these small households be able to have gainful employment by making these briquettes. How are you trying to roll it through the policy review and so that we can create a proper regulatory environment where the government can come in and the government can be able to provide incentives by ensuring that they finance the young people now here? Because we hear there are youth father, there are women father again, but there is none that is channeled in this way again. And because we know that we want to have an impact on the energy, consumption and sustainability, these actually, do you have a number that is robbing this? Because I think this government is fast asleep again, because that money that we hear about the FAD, there needs to be created a special FAD in a budget, nationally, that now goes into this effort so that now we can be able to maintain, because the forest cover is diminishing. We are now at 6% and the standard required is 10% across the globe. So you can see now here we are struggling, and more trees are being cut because people are not adopting the sustainable energy use. So now are we robbing it at now the national level, at the county level, so that these are efforts and initiatives that will be taken up? And we not only that, will also create employment, because we'll have an ecosystem of young people producing briquettes and doing these, and now people will switch. And the government can be able to have incentives and also come with a carrot and and also a stick. So that now you see now here, no more cutting, because we have provided this option now here again. And that would really work again. So we need a whole framework of robbing and having all these now articulated at every level so that the government can come in, create employment, create regulatory policies, of course, and frameworks where this one can happen. Is it happening?
Yeah, indeed, Giles, that is a very good question. We are already actually working with the government. Basically, we've started with standardization, because we realized when you take these products to farmers, they also want to be sure whether they are certified, are they accredited by KIRDI and all that. So we started first of all by supporting some of these entrepreneurs, some of these manufacturers of these stuffs, by supporting them to take them for certification and accreditation by organizations like KIRDI and KEPS. We are doing a lot of that, actually. Most of the people that we've supported, we even have one in the pipeline who has come up with a very efficient cook stove that uses pellets from around Ahero region in Western, in Nyanza. And we want to support that to ensure that it is duly accredited and certified by KIRDI and KEPS. And we've supported a number of those, including the briquette making machines that we support secure. So standardization, first of all. And we're also supporting and working alongside the government, actually including KIRDI, Clean Cooking Association of Kenya, KEFRI, KEPS, in coming up with a simpler version of the briquette standards, so that anybody who wants to come into the process of manufacturing commercial briquettes for use by factories should follow given standards. And the ones for households, that is the briquettes and pellets, we also, actually we are soon launching that kind of guideline for the standard of non-carbonized briquettes, some kind of a quick guide. And we are also now working with the county governments. Actually, we have now intensively engaged Kirinyaga County government and Embu County governments in these approaches, and we have seen their readiness to collaborate with us, and I'm sure they will incorporate and probably provide funding for some of their people in their counties. And that is, of course, now at pilot stage. We expect that going forward, because we've seen the need for this, it will be upscaled to other counties. But also, when we come to KTDA as an organization, we've also worked together with the senior management and the board. And we hear that good things are happening, and we might be having a policy very soon that might go around to all tea factories, that it is mandatory for each factory to switch probably to 30 or 20% use of briquettes so as to save our trees. We hear that one is coming as well. Yeah.
Wow, those are beautiful initiatives. I think that's the way to go. And I think what you also need to be able now here to do now here in line with that again, because messaging is very important. Like now, you all know it's a campaign season. You can see billboards everywhere. Politicians are messaging us, and psychologically, you all know what is. So we also need that part of messaging, so that now you could even have a clean energy ambassadors who talk about it. We see it now in billboards. We see it in news. Remember, that's how you work on people's psychology. Messaging and presentation. So we need to see even ambassadors of this guy, a big artist now here being associated with that. And that is going to bring the lasting change and adoption of this technology.
Very good, Charles. That's a very good point. Actually, next week on Monday, we are having a training with very key renowned media personalities in Nairobi to be able to tell them about this project and be able to tell them what we do, so that even when they go in their Kameme stations or in their KISS stations, they will be able to find room for telling stories of these impacts, what is happening, and the people will be able to take up these new technologies.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Right.
Oh, hi, I have a question for Michael. Sorry for interrupting. My name is Janet. I just want to know, where can I get the machine, the briquette making machine? Because I'm also interested in this project. Okay, Nakuru.
Yeah. Get in touch. I wrote my email there. We will guide you on that.
Okay,
but they're
thank
available.
you.
There are various vendors, and we are able to even source through, seeking quotations, and those ones that have already been accredited, that have been certified by KIRDI, and we give, actually they're the ones that we buy from, so that we support, we buy and give for free to our household energy centers.
Okay,
Right.
I'll definitely tell you.
Thank you very much, everyone. We have ran out of time, and thank you for the insights and the sharing. I would love to thank the World Energy Day Secretariat for organizing this webinar. We will have different topics for our monthly webinars every month, and we will love you to participate in those webinars. We'll be sharing with you a feedback form that will help us organize these webinars in a more proficient and good way, that you will be able to benefit from it. I will also thank our partners for World Energy Day, which is Korea, Kenya Renewable Energy Association and the innovators for 2022, and all our participants for sitting down and listening to all our speakers and our talks and our topics for the day, and also learning great insights. We thank you all for being here, and see you in the next one. Bye.